If your whole idea of a courtroom comes from watching TV dramas, you're probably picturing some surprise witness storming in at the last minute to break the case wide open. But the reality of legal work today, well, it's way more methodical and, honestly, a lot more digital. So let's dive into how technology is completely rewriting the script for modern justice.
Yeah, the truth is, the real action in a modern case doesn't usually happen with some dramatic outburst on the witness stand. The actual drama, those make-or-break moments, they often happen long before anyone even sets foot in court. It's all in the meticulous and increasingly technological process of digging up the evidence.
And that's really our central theme today. Technology has just fundamentally changed how legal cases are built, how they're argued, and ultimately how they're won or lost. It's not just about the gavel anymore. It's about the gavel and the keyboard, both working together in the search for justice.
Okay, let's start with the first major shift, the sheer volume of information. The digital age has created an absolute tidal wave of data, and now lawyers are the ones who have to figure out how to swim in it.
This whole process has a name. It's called e-discovery, and believe me, it is a massive undertaking. We're not just talking about a few key documents here. No. This covers everything. A company's internal emails, their databases, and individuals' social media posts, text messages, even their cell phone location data. It's all on the table. And the crucial thing to understand is the scale of this task. A single case can mean a company has to search, sort, and hand over literally millions of emails. It creates this digital needle in a haystack problem that can be just enormously time-consuming and expensive. To really put that into perspective, get this. In one case, a company had to pay 31 lawyers to work full-time for 6 months just to wade through their own electronic documents to figure out what they legally had to turn over. That's the reality of getting ready for trial these days.
But look, this data explosion isn't just about words on a screen. The next big shift is visual. We're moving from a world where we have to rely on what people remember to a world where we can often see what actually happened. And the impact of that? Well, it can be undeniable.
So picture this. You're in a courtroom, and the case is about a high-speed car chase. A witness for the driver gets up on the stand and says, the roads were pretty quiet, there wasn't really any danger to anyone. It's just one person's word, their memory of a really chaotic event.
But then the prosecution presents its next piece of evidence. And it's not another witness, it's not a stack of paper, it's a videotape, captured from the dash cam of the police car showing the entire chase exactly as it happened.
And this right here is a perfect illustration of the power of visual proof. The court found that the video just completely contradicted the witness's story. Suddenly, it wasn't about memory or someone's interpretation anymore. It was about what everyone in that room could see with their own 2 eyes. It just changes the whole game when a single video can be more powerful than hours and hours of testimony. Now, what's really fascinating is that technology isn't just capturing reality anymore. Now, it's being used to recreate it. And this takes visual evidence to a whole other level, but it also brings in a bunch of new complications. This kind of stuff falls into a legal bucket called demonstrative evidence. Basically, think of it as anything, a chart, a physical model, or a computer graphic that isn't the actual thing from the case, but is designed to help a jury understand what's going on. The whole goal is just to make things clearer. And one of the most powerful forms of this is computer animation. Lawyers can actually work with experts to digitally reconstruct a car crash, or a product failure, or even a crime scene. They can show a jury a step-by-step recreation of how an event might have unfolded, all based on the data they have. But hold on, you can't just show any animation you want. Courts have really strict rules to make sure these tools aren't unfairly persuasive. First, a qualified witness, usually an expert, has to testify that the animation is a fair and accurate representation of the events. And its main purpose has to be to help the jury understand the facts, not to just play on their emotions.
And here's what happens when you don't follow those rules. In one case, an animation was made to show how a person fell off a roof. The problem, the person who fell couldn't remember it, and nobody else saw it happen. So since no one could get on the stand and say, yes, that's an accurate portrayal of what happened, the court refused to let the jury see. So we've seen how technology is changing evidence, right? But the impact is even broader than that. The entire day-to-day operation of the legal system is being forced to adapt to this new digital world. For starters, those mountains of paper that used to define what legal work looked like, they're starting to disappear. Courts are moving to centralized electronic filing systems. In the U.S. federal courts, for example, systems like Pacer let lawyers file and access case documents completely online.
It's replacing literal warehouses full of paper files.
Testimony is also changing. Instead of flying a witness all the way across the country, courts are using video links and closed-circuit TV more and more. This is especially true for witnesses who might be vulnerable or too intimidated to testify in person, like kids in abuse cases.
And even before a case makes it to court, technology is helping create a better record. A growing number of police departments are now required to videotape interrogations. This helps get rid of questions about whether rights were read properly or if a confession was forced. It creates a clear, indisputable record of what was said and how it was said.
But this whole shift creates a really crucial trade-off. I mean, on one hand, these new technologies bring huge benefits, right? Convenience, saving money, keeping witnesses safe. But on the other hand, they raise some serious legal questions. Does testifying through a screen diminish a defendant's constitutional right to confront their accuser face-to-face? What happens if the video feed cuts out? Courts are constantly trying to balance efficiency with the fundamental principles of a fair trial.
So, as we've seen, technology is just reshaping the entire legal landscape in these profound ways. From the evidence locker all the way to the courtroom itself, it's creating incredible new opportunities and, at the same time, brand new complex challenges.
All right, so let's just recap the big takeaways here. First, the hunt for the smoking gun has moved from interviews into these massive e-discovery projects, that digital haystack. Second, visual evidence like one single video can completely outweigh what someone says, which changes the very nature of proof. Third, powerful tools like computer animations are allowed, but only if they meet a really high bar for accuracy. And finally, the entire justice system is shifting to a more paperless and remote world, with all the good and the bad that comes with it.
And all of this leads to one final and pretty huge question. The law, by its very design, is supposed to move slowly, methodically. But technology is accelerating at an absolutely incredible rate. So if the courts are already wrestling with dash cams and simple animations, how are they going to adapt to an age of AI, deepfakes, and even virtual reality? Can our legal system keep up in the race to tell the difference between digital fact and digital fiction? Well, that is the defining challenge for justice in the digital age.